You are watching Nimasa This Week, the authorized voice for the Nigerian maritime sector. My name is Iretiola Doyle and you are welcome. Now, there's been a change of guard, so to speak, at the Public Relations Unit of Nimasa. Our first report on the show this week will serve as an introduction of sorts to the new person who is currently at the helm of affairs.
The management of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, has appointed a renowned journalist and public relations expert, Mr. Isichie Osangbi, as Deputy Director and Head of Public Relations. According to the Director General of Nimasa, Mr. Ziakede Patrick Akpo-Bolukemi, Mr. Isichie Osangbi is expected to bring his wealth of experience in the public and private sectors to bear on Nimasa's operations and growth. Mr. Osangbi joined Nimasa last year as Deputy Director and Head of the Abuja Zonal Office. Before then, he worked with Shell Nigeria between 2007 and 2012 in various capacities, culminating in his appointment as Shell Media Relations and Communications Advisor, where as a key member of that team at Shell, he helped restructure and resuscitate the image of the global oil giant in Nigeria. As a journalist, Mr. Isichie Osangbi plied his trade with This Day newspapers in various strategic, editorial and managerial positions, where he rose to the position of Corporate and Public Relations Manager and a member of the This Day Board of Editors. A holder of a 1997 master's degree in international law and diplomacy from the University of Lagos, as well as a degree in English from the Edo State University, Ekpoma, in 1992, Mr. Osangbi, who attended Edo College, Benin, has also acquired several other certifications and trainings from both foreign and local institutions in public relations and media practice, notably amongst which is a postgraduate certificate in newspaper management from the University of Mainz International Institute of Journalism, Berlin. The new head of public relations of Nimasa is a member of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, as well as the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Lagos State Chapter. He is also a member of Ikoyi Club 1938. He is a director of the Rotary Club of Ikoyi, as well as a Paul Harris Fellow. Mr. Isichie Osangbi is happily married with children.
The management of the marine environment is a delicate and strategic matter that requires the concerted contributions of all the stakeholders within the maritime sector. However, it is important that this concerted effort be coordinated by the authorized agency, and in this regard, Nimasa is that agency. Our next report will give further details on this all-important subject.
For any meaningful economic activity to take place in the Nigerian territorial waters, be it the drilling of oil and gas resources or commercial fishing, it is important that the marine environment be in as pristine a state as possible, given that economic activity in the marine environment is prone to throw up marine pollution issues and challenges. As a signatory to the International Convention on Marine Pollution and other international maritime organization protocols, Nigeria is obliged to employ international best practices in the management of the marine environment. Nimasa, the agency of government charged with regulating maritime activities, therefore came up with some regulations which have since been gazetted by the federal government to regulate the management of the marine environment. The major thrust of the regulations revolve around the introduction of a sea protection levy and a new regime of offshore waste reception facilities. We recently had a chat with the two executive directors, Maritime Safety and Shipping Development of Nimasa, Captain Ezekiel Balagaba, and the Director Marine Environmental Management of the agency, Mrs. Juliana Gunwa, and here are highlights of the chat. We asked the ED the nature of the prevalent type of pollution that affects Nigerian waters.
In most cases, what you see is oil. Well, because of the production, we have offshore production, we have onshore production. On the coastline, even pipelines that transit from sea to land, vandalism, technical issues. When you fly our coastline, you see sheen and you see floating debris. And then, as vessels operate, most of the unused oil go to the bridges. Now, on the IMO rules, we are not supposed to pump out bridges.
The ED let us know the modus operandi of the offshore waste reception facilities.
What is going to happen is we are not going to build structures offshore for reception facility. That is not the model we are using. The model we are using is that we have the PPP provide vessels that can go out, take waste and oil residue from the vessels and bring it to port to incinerate or dispose. So that is it's mobile. It's a mobile form of oil facility. This is not. We're not trying to build facilities offshore. No.
We wanted to know the impact of an unregulated marine environment on the socio-economic lives of the people and nation.
The impact is straight: pollution, aquatic ecosystem degradation, fishing. Unregulated environment is a disaster to a nation. We must regulate it, monitor those who operate them. We have oil facilities offshore. We have fishing. So it must be regulated.
Finally, we asked Captain Agaba what premium the agency places on its marine environmental management duties.
As the name implies, marine environment management is managing the environment. That is total package. From if an issue develops, like maybe there's an OSP, for instance, the cleanup has to be managed. You have choppers, you have boats, you have booms, you have people cleaning up. All these are something you have to coordinate. If you don't manage it and people are just gathering in one location, nothing is achieved. So management is of utmost importance, and for us to achieve our mandate in marine environment, the management of environment is of utmost importance to us.
Nimasa prides itself for the sense of restraint that the agency employs in regulating maritime activities. The management of the agency appears to have a preferred mode of engagement with the industry players. Mrs. Gunwa, the director of the Marine Environment Management Department, obliged us with this answer.
We want to develop a synergy. We don't want to start using stake on our stakeholders. But while I was delivering my paper, I made mention of the fact that we have penalties that go along with non-compliance. And it's not that we are happy to enforce the penalties, but of course when we realize that stakeholders are trying not to comply with the international requirements, because if you have listened carefully, you know that this is not a Nimasa law. We are just trying to implement the provisions of the conventions, Marine Environment Management Conventions, that Nigeria has ratified and domesticated. And we now have to further develop regulations to ensure that we are able to implement the provisions of those conventions. So it is not a Nimasa law, it's an international law.
For the avoidance of doubts, Nimasa has already commissioned a private operator to patrol Nigerian waters for the purpose of monitoring the marine environment and is promising the maritime community of perceptively clearer oceans and waterways.
The incentive I can see in Nimasa giving out to all the operators is what we're able to do in return for the levies we collect. And like I said in the course of my presentation, for the past 3 weeks, we have one of the service providers that has provided a monitoring vessel that has been offshore for almost 3 weeks now, the Jumbo Explorer. And what we're expecting now from the service providers are the equipment facilities that will enable us collect waste offshore. So I believe that those the operators that are paying the levy, by the time they see much improvement in our the level of the cleanliness of our waters and effective collection of waste offshore, they will be glad. So, and we are trying to ensure that we put all that is required in place to enable us monitor effectively the pollution incidences in our water and the collection of waste.
Mrs. Gunwa elaborated on the relationship between the agency and the private sector partners engaged for the maritime environment management process.
We are into PPP relationship. We have service providers that are going to provide the monitoring vessels. They are going to provide them equipment offshore for collection of waste, and the type of equipment going to be provided is going to be a floating receptacle that will go offshore, collect all the waste, bring for treatment, separation, desegregate, treat, and take to final disposal point.
The protection levy will not be just another levy where funds will be accumulated for frivolous disbursements. According to the agency, the funds will be deployed to very specific things.
It involves the marine monitoring boats. We expect that the service providers will provide the marine monitoring boats, helicopter for area surveillance, stockpiling equipment for responding to oil spill, and provide receptacles offshore to collect waste from vessels that do not come to port.
The agency will, however, welcome some measures of patience from maritime operators before the desired results of the new arrangements will begin to manifest.
We are just commencing this project, and to get any of these equipment, they are all capital intensive. They are very expensive. You want to talk of helicopter, to acquire a helicopter. You want to talk of monitoring boats. We will start, for instance, with Lagos and proceed to the other zones, to Port Harcourt, to One, to Warri, to Bonny, to Brass. We believe in the next 1 year, we might not be able to boast that we are going to have all that we need, but there will be significant improvements in the activities of ensuring that we keep our waters protected from all forms of pollution. And we are able to comply with time requirements of ensuring that we collect the waste offshore so that they don't end up in our waters.
In a digital age and with the information technology revolution, it is only natural that Nimasa, as a responsible agency eager to serve Nigerians better, will be quick to get on board that IT train. Up next is a report that will show you the bold steps being taken by Nimasa to introduce technological innovation with a bid to improving service to all the maritime stakeholders.
Nimasa in the last couple of years has been undergoing a substantial transformation process under the leadership of the Director General Ziakede Patrick Akpobolo-Kemi. A painstaking recruitment drive to fill positions with thoroughbred professionals was undertaken, in which the best and brightest minds in maritime-related professions from Nigeria and the diaspora were invited to a grueling interview session with a panel of hardcore consultants. Lately, the injection of the new talents within the ranks of the agency is beginning to bear fruits. The agency also embarked on an overhaul of its operations to make it more efficient and transparent. The optimization of readily available technological innovations in its operational modus was thus embarked on, the result of which is the soon-to-be officially introduced online manifest protocol as well as e-payment platform for dues and levies. We spoke with the Executive Director, Maritime Safety and Shipping Development, as well as the Director of Shipping Development, Captain Waridi Enuswo, on these new developments. First to speak was the Executive Director, and he enumerated the underlying reasons for the adoption of the proposed innovations.
It is a waste of human resources and for somebody to leave his office to Nimasa to get a debit note on services or 3% levy on the freight. The manifest is fixed. is given to a vessel when the vessel departs coming to Nigeria. So you should be able to post it online to Nimasa. Nimasa will use it to generate the debit note and send it to you electronically. And then you can use it to go and pay. And when you pay, it will show you the system that you have paid. We can now generate a selling clearance for you to go. You don't have to come to us. That is the impetus.
Captain Agaba was very clear as to what value these innovations would add to the agency and indeed the maritime trade in Nigeria.
Well, the bottom line is for efficiency. We are going to end up collecting all the dues we are supposed to collect. We don't take allocation from federal government. We base our operation on generated revenue. So if we block the leakages from that, I think it's going to assist us in achieving our target of revenue generation and then carrying out our core mandate.
In the usual style of the agency of being sensitive and responsive to stakeholders, the ED let on that the agency would fully carry stakeholders along in the implementation of the new regime of procedures.
I think what we've decided to do is to have a forum in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Warri and Calabar for the shipping companies, the agents to come. We'll tell them this is what we are going to do, and then we are going to also conduct a training for them. We are going to get some formatted laptops so that people will come, about 15 or 20 at a time, go to the system. We'll start from beginning. I have a manifest and posting it, and then let's see how the process flow and get to the end when the what do you call selling clearance is generated.
Captain Waridi Enuswo responded to our inquiry about a possible rollout date for the online manifest procedure and e-payment platform.
We're still arranging that with the shipping companies. We've requested for their personnel that are going to be involved in the training, because as you may well know, it's a very, very new innovation. It's not something we want to rush, so that's why we've written letters to them to bring people in for training first. And based on that, as we see how we go, then we'll now be able to put a firm date on when we're going to launch it.
He was very emphatic about the strategic objective of the new procedures and its impact on the shipping company's operations, as well as the public perception of the agency.
As you well know, we needed to take our agency to the next level in terms of e-commerce. It's quite expensive for the shipping companies to keep printing documents and documents over and over again, doing the same thing all the time. It can even be very boring, apart from the financial implications. Now, aside the cost in terms of paper and other things, we also have the problem of having shipping companies come to the building all the time. It's a logistical problem for them, because they have to pay transport, they have to do a whole lot of other things. And as you well know, traffic situations in Lagos as well is not an easy one for them. And another thing is we wanted to operate an agency and so to speak a department that is going to run 24 hours. And you also understand that not all countries in the world keep the same time. We all are at different times. So we wanted a situation whereby people can lodge their manifest 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Captain Enuswo then proceeded to give us a practical run-through of the old procedure to emphasize the convenience of the newly proposed procedures.
The ship arrives in Nigeria, or sometimes takes off from a neighboring country before the office here knows exactly, the amount of cargo or whatever that is going to come into being. So be it fine. The company first of all comes into Nimasa to lodge their manifest, all in paper form. And then we do our whole internal checks and international checks to see that the papers are genuine. And then we generate a debit note for the shipping company. They take this debit note to the bank for payment. It comes back here to the building. The accounts department verifies payment. Then it comes back to me again on the table to do final checks. Then I will have to sign a sailing clearance for them. And also, it's just my signature at the moment that can only clear a ship. So you can see all these procedures they have to go through. And this involves coming into the building, going out of the building, and then coming back into the building again. And if all of these happens to take place, you know, across the weekend, you will be delaying the ship alongside. So, but none of this is going to happen with the new system.
The 24-hour efficiency nature of the new procedures will no doubt boost the stature of Nimasa as a maritime administration agency, a fact that Captain Enuswo elaborated on.
The agency side, well, it puts us on a pedestal with other international, you know, agencies as well. You know, as I said, you know, we're now in 2013. We should be able to do business with others in real time. Before now, we can't do business in real time unless we are at work. The moment we close, everything stops till we come back the next morning. But it doesn't work that way. Now we'll be able to account for nearly all the ships that come in, that declares. And we also now have electronic records. And you know, accessing electronic information is far quicker than manual situations. So if we are asked any questions about any ships from anywhere, we'll be able to access that particular information and be able to respond in real time to anybody's request.
One other very important advantage of the new system is the security of vital data. Digitized data, which the system will be based on, will no doubt help secure the integrity of information.
In case anything goes wrong, you know, disaster recovery, which you cannot completely abrogate, understand? It can happen, that anything can happen where information is destroyed. But in this system, the destruction of information is nearly impossible. Nearly impossible, let me say so. Though you can still destroy the information, but you would have to work very, very hard and very, very deliberate to do so before it can work. Because the information is stored in different sites. So if any site goes down, the other site stays as a disaster recovery and backup for the next one. So we are continually functional.
For now, these innovations are restricted to international maritime operations within Nigerian territorial waters and ports. We were curious to know if it would apply to internal maritime trading activities.
We are expecting to replicate same for the cabotage department, and very soon you will see such wonders coming from the ship registry as well. And as time goes on, believe you me, everything in terms of Nimasa will be digital.
Seeing as Nimasa's operations involving synergizing with other agencies of government, the agency has thought it fit to carry other agencies along.
The Navy can log into it, Customs can log into it, Central Bank can log into it, NPA can log into it, the banks we do business with can log into it after verification of payment and things like that. The EFCC can log into it. The Special Fraud Unit and the police can log into it. So there's a whole lot of transparency in terms of that. Nimasa really has nothing to hide because we're working for the public and we feel the public should know.
In conclusion, we ask Captain Bala Agaba to make a direct appeal to the maritime stakeholders community on the need to cooperate with the agency as regards the proposed innovations.
We are going into electronic invoicing because of the complaints from the shipping companies of the time it takes to get a debit note, payment, and issuance of sailing clearance. We are now trying to make it easier, so I'm soliciting the support of all the shipping companies in making sure this thing works. If you have any issues with it, call the director of shipping or call me, and then we'll sit down together and come out with a solution. I think we need it because definitely we cannot be carrying manifests manually all our life. We need to move up.
Now that is our show for this week. As always, we hope we kept you educated and informed. Now please don't forget, Nimasa this week is an interactive show. We'd like to hear your views, answer your questions, and even hear some of those criticisms. All you need to do is send that email to the current address showing on your screen. Now I'm going to be here same time, same station next week. Until then, I'm wishing you smooth sailing and bon voyage.